It's time for the Drugless Doctor. Call a friend or family member now and let them benefit from today's exciting and life-changing program. If you want to lead a healthier life, the time is now.
Hello, this is Dr. Bob, Dr. Anthony, and Dr. Kaysen DeMaria. I'd like to welcome you once again to another episode of the Drugless Doctor. Today we're going to be talking about a condition that is common. You see a lot of advertisements on the television about all the medications that impact lung function. As a matter of fact, which is quite intriguing, the Wall Street Journal several years ago had a list of all the prescription medications that are used by children in the world today. The #1 medication for kids is medication for asthma or breathing. And do you know that asthma is one of the top 10 killers of individuals, children? And I've had asthmatic patients be on asthmatic medication that tell me that they don't sleep through the night very well. So what we're going to talk about today is breathing and asthma and lung challenges. I'd encourage you to go to our website, which is Drugless Doctors, that's drs.com. Go to blog, look for TV outlines, and look for the one that have to do with lungs. Dr. Anthony.
So lung health is important to chiropractors because we work with the nervous system, and the nervous system controls the messages that are sent to our lungs. So our brain sits in our skull. It continues as the spinal cord. Off of the spinal cord comes nerves that go to every muscle, organ, and tissue in the body. So the brain's constantly sending messages to the body and the body back to the brain. Now, one of the organ systems that the brain sends messages to is the lungs. Now, I'm holding the spine here from the side because I want you to see how our posture impacts function over time. So if you're sitting at a computer or using a phone or reading a book and your head's coming forward, it ends up putting stress and pressure on the nerves that go to your lungs. On top of that, did you see how when the spine started to come forward, it compressed this area? Your lungs sit in that area that is being compressed. Now, it's really interesting, and it has to do with the function of the lungs. Lungs supply oxygen to the body. Oxygen is really important because that's what our body uses to make energy. So if you're not getting enough oxygen to your body, you're literally starving your cells of the energy they need to function. So as chiropractors, we work with bringing the spine back towards normal so that helps to restore function in the body. So one time we had one of our practice members and she was receiving her very first adjustment in the office. She got off the table and she kind of had a funny look at us and she said, "You know what? I can breathe better." And we go, "You can?" And she's, "I didn't even know that I couldn't breathe well to begin with." So how many of you that are out there that your breathing is impacted and you don't even know that it's a challenge because your head's coming in the forward position and the brain's not correctly able to send the right messages to the body? So chiropractic is by far one of the best things that you can do to help improve overall lung function. So we're going to be talking about, through the rest of this evening, some ideas and strategies to help improve lung health. So you could be anywhere in the world right now. Why don't you go to our website, druglessdrs.com, click on the section that says blog, and click on TV printable outline so you can find the information that we're going to be discussing on lung health. What do you have for us there, Dr. Kaysen?
When you are talking about the nervous system, this is a great chart for you to be able to see how the brain sends all those messages all the way down, and the nerves in the neck and the upper thoracic spine, they go right to the lungs. Now, what's incredible that we're able to see on our video fluoroscopy, which is live motion video, we're able to see exactly in that mid-neck, which is the C5 vertebra, if in fact there is any kind of misalignment or subluxation. All of those nerves go all the way down to supply the diaphragm, which allows you for expansion and breathing. And we're seeing this as an epidemic with even kids because of their backpacks and texting, sitting all day long. Those things can be pushing you forward in that forward position. So it's so important that we're assessing this epidemic and challenge to help support your body at a young age, because we see people with emphysema and allergies, all kinds of even heart dysfunction because of that posture being in the forward position. What do you have for us, Dr. Bob?
Well, I think so much of this information that we have is so innovative, and we have written many research articles, and one of our research articles actually on weight loss is in a peer-reviewed journal, and I've done a lot of research on this whole aspect of posture and lungs. See, your lungs are like sponges, and what Dr. Anthony and Kaysen were saying, if I turn myself from the side, as you compress, your lungs are compressed and they cannot expand. And we have individuals whose energy will improve, just like what Dr. Anthony said, because there's more oxygenation. So we actually have a tool in our office that Dr. Anthony is going to be talking about in regard to, we can literally test. This is so intriguing. We could tell you how old your lungs are, and you're as old as your lungs, and it doesn't make any difference where you're at chronologically, and I'll let him do the rest of the story.
Okay, so this is a tool and a device called a spirometer. The spirometer helps to measure lung capacity. You can even measure how fast air comes out of your lungs. You can measure total capacity of lung volume. And they've made normal measurements over time to figure out what a person's normal is and where it should be. Now, after doing this assessment, we can figure out how you compare to what normal is for your age, your sex, your weight, and it gives us a graph. You know, what's been really phenomenal about using the spirometer in the practice is we can see somebody come in and they have a lung age that's much older than where their lungs are, and because it has to do with what I was talking about before, their posture's forward. They haven't yet received chiropractic care to help bring their body back towards normal, allow the brain to send the right messages to their body. So we can redo the spirometer over the time to see how their lung age improves, and we've literally helped to add years to their life because of improving lung function. We've also had a number of other scenarios that have taken place with using the spirometer. I had a 45-year-old gentleman here recently. We did the spirometer on him, and when we did, we found out that his lung age was 90. Well, he kind of looked at me a little bit because he'd been smoking for the last 25 years. And it was the epiphany moment for him that it was time to get rid of the cigarettes because they were impacting his health. We've also had moms that's kids have done the spirometer, and the mom happened to be a smoker, and the kid's getting the secondhand smoke, and a 12-year-old boy could have the lungs of a 60-year-old, all because of secondhand smoke. So this is a wonderful tool that we're able to measure somebody's lung function over time and show how great their progress has improved under chiropractic care. What do you have there for me, Dr. Kaysen?
Another assessment that we do in our practice, and I'm going to hold it up here, this is called an acoustic cardiogram. And this is an electronic stethoscope that we're able to nutritionally assess how the heart is functioning, but also what's so important that we find on this is if you have adrenal fatigue. And if you're looking at the graph here, you can see the adrenal glands, we're looking at a specific pattern, and if they are impaired, we see a specific spike in the graph. And if you are having low adrenal glands, that can also impact your breathing, which we're seeing people with chronic coughing or lung challenges can be linked to the adrenal glands. And I know, Dr. Bob, you're going to share a story with us as far as adrenal glands and how that impacts overall lung function.
Well, I can tell you this tool, because I'm not sure how many of you have ever had a spirometer. And if you're sitting in our office right now in the adjusting area, we have that as a service that could be made available to you. And if you're watching us online anywhere or here in Northern Ohio, that's one of the tools that we can make available to you along with the acoustic cardiogram. And it's in our practice life, we've had the opportunity to have wonderful human beings come through our doors. And one was a young man many years ago who had the passion to become a Navy SEAL. And it was very instrumental. I only found this out recently because he did come to our office. He is a Navy SEAL now, and said that gives me chill bumps just thinking about it, by him coming in to our office for care, his asthma went away, and because of that, he is a graduate from Annapolis, and it's amazing. We don't realize sometimes how in-depth of lives that we can impact. And going back to that acoustic cardiogram, if your adrenal glands are not functioning optimally, with that electronic stethoscope, we can see exactly what's happening. Excuse me, I think what we see is if you come into our office and you're wearing sunglasses, we know that you potentially have adrenal fatigue. Dr. Kaysen mentioned the adrenal glands. We know, what I have learned, is that people who come in who are not smokers and they have a lung problem, it's usually because their adrenals are fatigued because your adrenal glands make natural cortisone. I'm going to share something with you that's really wild. If you go outside and sunlight causes you to sneeze, we really know that you have some adrenal issues, and you want your adrenal glands to become very strong so they're able to contend with the breathing apparatus. You know, we're not saying anything against Jif. This is just peanut butter in general. I know that we see in our practice that individuals have a lot of chronic breathing problems and sinus problems, tend to just have a passion addiction for peanuts, peanut butter, and peanuts and peanut butter have mold on them. And a lot of times we can have a chronic lung issue because of peanuts, and it could be a real challenge. Dr. Kaysen.
Also with breathing that we find is people that are traveling or flying, or maybe they're going to somewhere with a higher altitude, we want to make sure that we help to support their lungs because of the different oxygen levels. Now, we use something in our practice Dr. Bob was sharing with the adrenal glands called cytosine AD, and this is a glandular support that we use to help support the adrenal glands. We also use something in our practice to help support the overall body's bio-B complex, and this helps to support your body overall with those B vitamins that you may need for also adrenal support. Now, when you're flying, something that we also use is organic, which helps with the oxygen in the body. It helps to support overall breathing and function. Dr. Bob.
There is so much information. One last thought before we take a break is that dairy products can be an issue for some. See, dairy creates mucus. Now, I'm not telling you to stop your dairy, but if you have a chronic lung problem and you love orange juice with your peanut butter and jelly sandwich on your white bread, chased down with a glass of milk, let's get real right now. What you're eating may impact, along with your nervous system not be functioning properly, could be the reason you're on asthma medication. I'm not telling anybody to go off their asthma medication, but if you're having citrus or orange juice, you're having cottage cheese ice cream and milk, and you're having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, we just gave you some of the reasons why you may be suffering with chronic lung problems. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. I'm a chiropractor because my goal, my passion is to help people get better without medication.
There's different types of chiropractic. I wanted to be involved in something that was bigger than myself.
Sure, I would say it's been so much more than just seeing those lives transform. It's been being able to be a part of their transformation.
Wellness is a state of mental, social, and physical well-being.
Really, wellness is from the inside out, being able to have your body make the decisions on its own, naturally, without drugs, medications, or surgeries.
We work and strive at addressing each one of those different facets of wellness so that it's really a well-rounded overall approach for an individual.
I think the atmosphere is really very welcoming. I think all three really worked well together as a team.
It's much more than you would find somewhere else. The individuality of it, the recommendations, the doctor's expertise.
We do not use a cookie-cutter plan. Every person that comes into our office is very unique, and they have specific plans and treatment protocols specific for their findings.
Utilizing our innovative tools and technology, we're able to get the best results and faster, and it's really easy on the practice member, specifically with the thermal scans that we do. By measuring the ambient skin temperature, we're able to measure from each assessment how the pattern's changing.
We offer digital video fluoroscopy, motion films of a person's spine, getting right to the root cause.
From someone that was previously diagnosed with ADHD and was having developmental delays in speech, working with them here and seeing the transformation of them developmentally, other things, attention span, energy, colic, all these things that are improving over a period of time.
So whether it's a little baby that's getting adjusted for the first time, or a mom that's getting adjusted, or an athlete, it's really cool to see what we're able to do and how that can impact their life for the long term.
The two things, chiropractic care and nutrition, go hand in hand, and you really need both components. You can't just say, I'll do whatever I want nutritionally and then just have chiropractic care and Dr. Bob will just fix me. Really, you have to have both going together.
In our wellness store, we offer a variety of different products. They're all professional lines and products that are tried and true. We have many different types of evaluations and assessments that can tell us what supplement is going to be best for one of our practice members here in the office, so that we're just not throwing the dice when it comes to their health.
The Drugless Doctors is very forward-thinking. It's a lot different than anything else that I had ever seen before, so I felt like I was learning something new.
We have information on social media, our website, our blog. We do TV programs, so we're always putting out good quality information, because more often than not I hear from somebody, I never knew that, or I got that information from a magazine or a TV program and I never really knew that that wasn't correct.
So being able to give them simple tools and natural principles that they can be able to empower themselves to make every day, that's really, it's really exciting for me to be able to see people in their changed lifestyles.
Come and join us and participate with natural drugless chiropractic care. Hello, this is Dr. Bob and Dr. Kason DeMaria, and we'd like to continue on with the episode of The Drugless Doctor. We've been talking about lung health, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, it's one of the #1 medications that children in America are on today. 45 million is a lot of prescriptions. I'd encourage you to go to our website, which is Drugless Doctors, and that's doctors spelled out DRS.com. Go to blogs and look at TV outlines and look at this, because I know that there are literally millions of people in America today that need to hear this story. We've been talking about lung health, and Dr. Kason's going to talk to you about a special segment of lung health. Dr. Kason.
I know we were sharing that the #1 medication right now for kids especially is that asthma medication, and we're seeing this in our practice with us specializing in pediatrics and pregnancy. I'm seeing this in pregnant moms, and then I'm seeing it right away in newborns because of items that the mom may be consuming or eating. And this could be things like peanut butter or dairy or yogurt, or even those citrus fruits which Dr. Bob was sharing that create mucus in our body. It's so important that we're going ahead and being proactive about what we're putting in our body, because the breast milk in the mom is going directly into the baby, which may even be causing GERD or reflux or just inability to even breathe because of that inflammation in the body. And what's amazing about the newborn is their immune system is not completely formed until 2 years old. So introducing the grains and even those baby formulas is devastating to a kid's health and overall function. So as chiropractors, we work with specifically the brain and the nervous system, finding those different subluxations or misalignments in kids, and then start helping to support the mom and the baby so that they can have strong immune systems to help with the environment. Now, something I wanted to share, which is an epidemic that we're seeing, is the upper vertebra, the C2 vertebra. Those are the nerves that go right to your sinuses. And more often than not, people that are experiencing sinus challenges or breathing, we find a subluxation in that upper vertebra. You could even be having vertigo and seizures because of those nerves being compressed that go right to the brain and the nervous system. Dr. Bob.
Well, we have a chart here. This is pretty much a pretty simple safety pin cycle, how your brain sends messages, and if you have misalignment, for this example, it's going to the digestive system, but you could literally put any organ right there. And this person could have digestive distress, but what Dr. Kason was just talking about, it could be a lung issue. And Dr. Anthony mentioned before the break that we've had individuals get off of our chiropractic adjusting tables and say that their breathing is better. You know, I happen to have an ionic breeze at our office. It helps just do electrostatic removal of debris and particles. Well, when I purchased the ionic breeze, they sent me a complimentary smaller version of it. When I was reading the directions in the ionic breeze, they said you should never burn a candle in the same room as the breeze is, because the particles from the wax or in the air will literally coat the plates on the ionic breeze. And I took this a step further. I know that a lot of you have received a wonderful, I'm being very sarcastic right now, fragrant candle for Christmas or any holiday. It's kind of like when somebody doesn't know what to give you, they're going to give you a scented candle. And if that scented candle, listen to what I'm going to share this with you now, comes from a petrochemical source, in other words, tar, xylene, it could literally put toxins inside of your body. So if you're ever going to burn a candle, burn it outside in the middle of the summertime or in the springtime when you can open the windows. But if it's in the middle of the wintertime, I'm telling you, you do not want a scented candle being burnt in your household. Now I'm going to share with you something that we just kind of learned along the way. This happens to be 5 pounds of fat. If this fat is in your abdomen and at nighttime you're laying down and you're sleeping on your back, that fat moves up. This is intriguing. It compresses your lungs. That was pretty wild, by the way. Sleep apnea. I have had practice members come in and they whittle the back of their throat. If you're overweight and this fat is pushing up in your lungs, it's going to change the breathing pattern in your body. So some of you could have an issue with snoring right now, and it's because of an extra adipose tissue. I'm going to change subjects a little bit and share a little secret that I learned along the way. Is sometimes snoring could be caused from an acid environment. So if you are a snorer, and hit Mabel, say, listen to this, Mabel, you're the snorer. Get a wedge of lemon, squeeze the lemon in the water, drink the water, eat the lemon pulp before you go to bed. Because people who are acid tend to snore. People who are overweight and are acid are really going to have a snoring issue. So that was really a hot tip. Dr. Kaysen.
Also, when you were talking about the ionic breeze, if you could share, I know we've had multiple members as far as with flying and everything that we're breathing in the environment, there are certain tips that you could take to purify the air around you, because that can cause serious health challenges as far as with liver function.
Well, when I travel around, I have a little apparatus that is a mini version of that I can put in my lapel, and it creates an ionic charge, because one of the unhealthiest environments on the planet is being in that little tube scooting across 500 miles across the country, and you're breathing in other people's air. So I use a miniature version of that ionic breeze. And just as another side note, we have many practice members who travel a lot. And when you travel, we just had this happen just yesterday. Someone came into their practice and they can't hear properly because the pressure in the cabins changes, and it literally subluxates or misaligns the little bones in your ears, the malleus, incus, and stapes. So we're very capable of doing a spinal or an ear adjustment, just giving a little tug to your earlobe, and it gets a release, which is awesome if your ears have been plugged up. Something else I want to share with you with chronic lung problems is stress. So in the first segment, we are talking about the spirometer. So we've had individuals that have come into the office, and let's say that they're 40 years old and they have lungs of a 60-year-old, and their posture is poor, and they have stress. I have learned over time that stress can weaken the adrenal gland. So if you're a non-smoker, adrenal